Good morning, Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. Thank you so much for dropping by. Hey, yeah, the cost of electricity in the Philippines. Why is it so expensive? Seems like that question gets asked all the time. Well, you know what? Let's talk about it.
Why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance, no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
So for many of you, you're considering moving to the Philippines, retiring to the Philippines, living long term in the Philippines. And because you have more than half a brain, you look at what your expenses might be. And the one thing that gets said over and over and over again by all kinds of different channels and different people is how expensive electricity is in the Philippines, that they expected it to be a lot cheaper, that they didn't expect it to be so expensive, especially for those of you that are used to a Western lifestyle. You're going to want, many of you, air conditioning, and you're going to want a lot of it. Many of you, not all, but that takes electricity. So why? Well, you know what? First off, I think that the answers are a little bit simple. They really are. Not only are they simple, but there are so many channels that just gloss over the reality, number one, and then make up shit, number two. They don't even address why it's expensive. They just say it's expensive and they whine and cry. These are the broke people. These are the people that just don't have the money, where every penny counts so bad. And, I feel for you, but that's the way it is. So let's take a look at a couple of different things, and then let's look at reality, because we're going to have to explore it that way. So first we're going to show you the comparison between Philippines and other Southeast Asia countries and some Western countries. Then we're going to talk to you about the most asinine, completely asinine comment that I have heard repeated over and over. And then we're going to tell you what the expectation is and how it may or may not change. And then you can plug that into your formula as to whether you want to be coming to the Philippines or not. So let's take a look at this first. All right. This is the 2024 international data compiled by I forget the company, but the company that does this gathers the data from the statistical sites and from the information of different countries. So the Philippines, and these are in US dollars, in cents, all right, per kilowatt hour ranges between 20 and 22 cents. Now keep in mind, that's the actual kilowatt per hour. That doesn't include any of the ancillary charges, and there are ancillary charges in every country. There are ancillary charges that do take place. So 20 and 22 cents. Well, Thailand, between 11 and 12 cents. Well, that's definitely cheaper. Vietnam, between 7 and 8 cents. Cambodia, between 13 and 16 cents. Taiwan, 10 cents. Japan, 21 to 25. There's a Southeast Asian country that's more expensive. Malaysia, 5 to 7 cents. Indonesia, 8 cents. United States, 17 cents. You'll pay more on average Now, it varies because it depends on where you live, but these numbers are averages. All right, 17 cents. Australia, 25 cents. The United Kingdom, 37 cents. South Korea, between 13 and 18 cents. It's very close to the Philippines. India, 7 cents. So what do all of these countries have in common and not have in common? Well, this brings us to the most asinine reply that we've heard. I was watching a live stream the other day, and the person in the live stream says, well, the reason that we have electricity here is so expensive is because we don't have nuclear power. Now, I'm going to come back to that in just a couple of minutes, all right? Because there's a reason we don't have nuclear power in the Philippines. And there's a reason it wouldn't make a damn bit of difference. But Japan, nuclear power, 21 to 25 cents. The United States, nuclear power, 17 cents. All right? Australia does not generate, they have nuclear reactors, but they're research reactors. They don't generate electricity by nuclear power. The United Kingdom, 37 cents. They have a shitload of nuclear power plants. South Korea, 13 to 18 cents. They have nuclear power. India, 7 cents. What do these things have in common and not in common? Well, first off, many of those countries that have cheaper electricity is because the electricity is subsidized by their government. Okay? The Philippines does not. Although, it's funny, the government does invest in and own parts of some of these electrical energy production companies. Okay? Now, having electricity, having nuclear power is not going to necessarily make electricity cheaper. It certainly didn't do it in the UK. It certainly doesn't do it anywhere else, hardly. All right? It certainly didn't do it in Japan. So that's not a good. Only if the government is going to help subsidize those endeavors. Now, the Philippines did build a nuclear power plant. Bataan nuclear power was completed in like 86. It got all the way up to the fueling stage. They were ready to fuel it, commission it. It was built by Westinghouse. It was a PWR, pressurized water reactor, but because of all the negativity of 3 Mile Island the year before, everything just shut down. So, what happens? Well, the same thing that happens with electricity is what's going to happen with all kinds of different things. The Philippines doesn't farm coal to any extent worth mentioning. The Philippines doesn't, drill out natural gas to any extent. Everything gets imported. And because it's imported, it isn't cheap. And why you should expect it to be cheap is beyond me. Why expats would do this. Now, when we get back, let's get back to nuclear power for a minute. What would happen if the Philippines would put up nuclear power? It wouldn't get any better. And the reason it wouldn't get any better is because it would take 10 years, in my estimate. All right? There are estimates out there between 8 and 15, but it would take 10 years, in my estimate, to actually build out the national grid. In other words, electricity produced in Mindanao doesn't go anywhere else but Mindanao, practically. All right? Very little gets outsourced. Electricity produced in Mindanao doesn't make it to Luzon, and electricity produced in Luzon doesn't make it to Mindanao. They may lighten the load in Bisaya, and Bisaya may then be able to export some, but the national grid here is a travesty. The national electrical grid, and the government owns the company that oversees the grid. So take it for what it's worth, coincidence or not. You can't shuttle electricity across the Philippines. Not to mention, you have islands, tons and tons of islands. I mean, you look at Siargao, where Brian, Philly in the Philippines, lives. They have an electrical line coming from the mainland to Siargao, and it is not enough to supply their needs. They have generators also on the island, and they're not enough to supply their needs without the electrical line. So it needs both of those to do that, and that's common in many of these different islands. Electricity cheaper in the Philippines? No, it's not. Of course not. More expensive in the Philippines? Absolutely. And there's a reason. Everything gets imported. I mean, after 10 years here, we've seen the price of inflation hit everything. I can remember when you could buy eggs for 6 pesos a piece. Not anymore. All right? Even though it's still way cheaper than most places in the West. That's for sure. Rice, more expensive now than it's ever been. Or not than it's ever been, but more expensive now than it was 10 years ago. Everything has gone up, and you need to factor that into your future. You need to think about how that's going to impact you, because it's not going to get cheaper to stay here. It's not going to get cheaper to live here. They're not building more land. Land is getting more expensive. Places to stay are getting more expensive, although they fluctuate, sure. All right? But it's not getting cheaper by any way, shape, or means. The beauty of the Philippines for a retirement destination lies in a few simple facts. Number one, still by Western standards, it's very livable on a much smaller budget. Number two, the people are great. They're very welcoming, very friendly. They speak or understand very well. Let me rephrase that. They speak or understand the rudimentary concepts of English. All right? Are they going to be able to debate anything? Well, no, not many of them will. Some will, but not all. That's for sure. But they can get the basics by. In Thailand, once you get out of the tourist areas, English is a struggle. Even in some parts of the tourist areas, English is a struggle. In other countries, it's even worse. You'll live on a translator. The next reason the Philippines is a great retirement destination is just simply the fact that it is a westernized, slowly westernized country. And while some of you will want to argue with that and say, no, that's not what I want that simple life, that is still available here. That provincial life is still available here. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay? So, why is electricity more expensive in the Philippines? Well, because they have to import everything, for God's sakes. Number one. And number two, their energy infrastructure sucks. All right? There's just not a better word for it than that. It really does. Now, we haven't put a video out in a month by the time this hits. And the reason is very simple. We went to Thailand. We were there for 2 weeks. We came back. And unlike many others, our life doesn't revolve around YouTube. We put out information and videos that we find interesting or informative. And in doing so, it requires time. and we've been busy. Our life has other interests besides YouTube. So we apologize, but we're back on track now and we'll go forward. I have another hobby that's been taking a little bit more of my time as well. Okay? So we thank you for dropping in. Please do subscribe, hit that thumbs up, hit the like button, the notify bell, all that good stuff. And then more important than all of that, please have a great, safe day.